Games are devolving from grandma's freshly baked cookies when you visit once a month, accompanied by a wholesome story about her childhood, into fast food binged in whopping portions every day. Both are easily accessible, both sacrifice the user's health, and both light up the dumb caveman part of your brain, relying on the flood of instant gratification chemicals and cravings to force you to keep coming back. All the stories you hear of people sacrificing their dreams for games, or even literally dropping dead from playing too long, are regular people that got addicted to a certain game, which was almost always created by a big name company that achieved exactly what they set out to. I was absolutely one of these suckers, not with a conventional addictive game like WoW or League. I could not stop playing Barbie's Dreamhouse Adventure. Then, after that nightmare, was Hearthstone. I lived and breathed Control Shaman and Zoo Warlock for at least 50 hours a week, and if I was ever dopey enough to reinstall it, I'm certain I'd do it all again. I never spent an excessive amount of money on the game, but it completely hijacked my mind, and I wasted the better part of a year climbing the ranked ladder and grinding out Arena. I do, however, have a much healthier relationship with a game called chess. I've known how to play chess for the majority of my life, just over 6 years, and I don't think I've ever been obsessed with it like I have other games. Yes, I've taken the time to learn some basic strategies so I could finally stop getting 4-move checkmated, and I've definitely played thousands of games, but it's never hijacked my brain. And everybody loves chess. Brain scientists make studies that rave on and on about the benefits it has on memory and focus, and I think you'd be searching a while to find someone that has an exclusively negative opinion on it. These same scientists, however, hate games that claim to train your brain. While you might be able to memorize 6 numbers instead of 5 after a couple hours practice, it's pretty apparent that's where the benefits stop, and none of the skills you are building can actually be transferred to the office once you learn them. What aren't a complete waste of time are cinematic games. Despite what people think of games driven by story, they seem to be, for the most part, good for you as far as games go, by helping you relate to the emotions the characters feel, and by allowing you to mirror the character in your own personality. Difficult games are also somewhat good for you, having long-lasting effects on your patience and determination. And while the major benefits for the most part stop there, there's still benefits. So while it's unlikely games will ever become the best use of anyone's time, is it possible to make better game choices, like opting for the grilled chicken wrap over the fried chicken burger? All games developed these days contain some form of good and evil. The good being whatever brain development they can squeeze out, while the evil being whatever form of hyper-stimulation the game was developed with to make it its own varying degree of addicting. Whether that's with graphics you can't take your eyes off of, the just one more move mechanic, or a fast pace where the player is simply never given the opportunity to leave. It's clear there's a difference between a complicated video game and this.
Outstanding work, everyone!
We did it!
But it's also inherently clear we should be limiting our time on addicting games that hijack our brains where possible. So where should we draw the line between a healthier game and one you should probably never touch? And should you play an incredibly deep game that also highly stimulates your brain? Most studies on addicting games measure games as a whole, often not defining the game played or even the genre of the game, meaning studies on games are actually in a bit of a weird place where they're basically only used for angry parents to try and get their point across to their 10-year-old, who really just wants to get back to destroying noobs in Fortnite and dancing on top of their lifeless corpse. This means that it's impossible to know whether the studies on gamers were done on Raid Shadow Legends or Call of Duty, or a more complex game like Candy Crush Saga. Never fear, however, for I have found the solution. The PPP scale. All games can have their level of engagement ranked on 3 factors: pace, predictability, and pizzazz. Pace being how quickly things happen in the game, predictability, how much chance is interwoven with the mechanics, and pizzazz, how much it appeals to your lizard brain with flashy visuals and satisfying sounds. The higher a game ranks on the scale, the more addictive and hijacking the game is, and thus the more you should probably try and stay away from it. Not to say it wouldn't provide any value if you played it, just to say a game like Civilization, which carries a huge amount of depth but that also ranks very high on the PPP scale, is just not something you'll be able to justify to yourself when you inevitably spend 1,000 hours beating an imaginary Gandhi in world domination. Mobile games are currently the digital cigarettes of the 50s, with people enjoying their charming buzz while convincing themselves it's healthy to suck tar into their lungs and constantly have a cold that won't go away. Or in the case of mobile games, completely ignoring all the negative side effects of exposing your brain to constant overstimulation. Almost all of the popular mobile games rank a perfect 30 on the PPP scale, while providing absolutely no value to the player's mind whatsoever. Essentially the most efficient way possible to turn people into zombies. Then there's online mind games the worst offenders, as there are countless stories of healthy teenagers sacrificing their dreams and destroying their lives to pursue their passion in gaming. Although they do provide some depth of mechanics and brain development, they, like mobile games, almost always max out the PPP scale, but rather than progression being getting through levels or achieving a longer run, they give the player a much more convincing illusion of achievement and improvement. Just like soft drink companies finding the optimal sweetness level for their drinks, companies like Riot and Blizzard have cracked the code for the optimal amount of challenge, carefully selecting opponents and leading to gamers not being able to put the game down. Now we rank a game like chess and it's like, bruh. But the benefits on the mind are like, now that's a game fit for a monk. But if someone made chess today rather than in the 6th century, even with the best marketing team around, it's likely no one would ever play it because it doesn't have the pace and pizzazz of big titles that consumers have come to expect. While a society where everyone has adapted to delayed gratification and abandoned their lizard brain would be very healthy, companies are going to focus on the biggest market for their games. So a game with a 0 on the PPP scale is not going to stand a chance against the hundreds of games and the many more to come that have completely maxed out the scale. Until brain diets like dopamine detoxing and healthy game habits become more widely recognized, copies are going to keep flying off the shelves as players reap the satisfaction of binging junk food without understanding or even noticing the repercussions it has.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.